All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem Akarkadash, and the Heavenly Father. The true name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Ba'Hashem, and the name Hamashiach Kapashai. Those are their true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, Alash Wakadash Otam. And I say Barakatham to the elders and apostles, what Akim Akwaf, and I say Shalom. And this is a prophecy updates as of March the 7th, 2025, on this Friday morning. And this is a news article from JerusalemPost.com as of March the 7th, 2025. And it reads, Iran says Trump policies on Tehran follow a pattern. A new agency linked to Iran's top security body says on Friday there was nothing new in the U.S. President Trump's statements on the Islamic Republic in this offer to talks. Trump's pattern in the region, the foreign policy slogans, threats, temporary actions, and retreat, new news said on X. It says on Iran, first it said it did not want the confrontation, then signed a maximum pressure policy. Then he imposed a new sanctions, and he talks about sending a letter to the leadership with the invitation to negotiations. This is a repetitive shows by the American, it added. Right, because you're still going to have more tensions rising between Iran and the United States. Iran and Iran and the United States, and Iran versus Israel as well too. Because you have Israel and the United States as allies, so the ongoing many tensions that they had towards, the pro-Iran groups in Iran as well too. So we're going to see how that plays out. It says the IOM says over 100 people missing after a migrant boat capsized over Yemen. It says the UN chopper hits a South Sudan, killing one crew member and some soldiers. Hamas delegations arrive in Cairo to discuss a ceasefire agreement. Egypt says Pope Francis faced longer and farther fight for recovery, doctors say. It says, if I don't bring them home, I have failed, Zimmer tells the hostages' families. It says the World Bank estimate of reconstruction need in Lebanon at 11 billion. And this is a news article, as we've been seeing rising tensions from Iran versus, Israel. We've been seeing rising tensions between the Russia-Ukraine situation. I want to reiterate that, kind of slipped the tongue of words, so my apology on that. And this is a news article from RT.com, the JerusalemPost.com, by Reuters as of March the 7th, 2025, and it reads, Zelensky calls for a truce in the air at sea after a massive Russian attack overnight. It says Ukraine President Zelensky calls for a truce in the air at sea as additional pressure on Russia after a massive attack overnight that hit Ukrainian gas infrastructure. The first step is to establish real peace should be forced the sole source of this war, Russia, to stop such attacks, Zelensky said on Telegram app. Bring up that First Thessalonians. This is First Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 3. For when they shall say peace and safety, such expression come upon them as a travail woman child, which they should not escape. Right, because you're still going to have ongoing escalation between the Russia-Ukraine situation, as escalations are continuing to intensify unless they come with a ceasefire agreement between both sides. But at the meantime, you're still going to have rising tensions between Russia versus Ukraine, as they had the largest airstrike overnight, as from the news article just reported. This is Matthew 24 and verse 6. It says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled for all these things, but first come to pass, but things not yet. Right, so we're going to be seeing increasing wars and rumors of wars between the arms of nations rising against one another. Russia-Ukraine situation as a prime example. Matthew 24 verse 7, for nation shall rise against nation, right? Russia versus Ukraine. Iran versus Israel. It says, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Right, you're going to have modern day kingdoms against modern day kingdoms and modern day nations against modern day nations. And there should be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3, verse 8. It says, in a time, Ecclesiasticus, Salaki. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus 3 verse 8, in a time to love, in a time to HATE, in a time of war and time of peace. Right, so we are definitely living in a time of HATE and a time of war as well too. That's why we're seeing wars, rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom is on top of that as well too. And this is the book of 2nd Ezra 9 and verse 3. It says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars, people of the world. Why we're going to be seeing increase in earthquakes and uproars, people of the world. This is the book of Luke. Luke 21, verse 25. It says, there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars upon the earth, disgrace of nations will perplex the seas which run. Right, so we're going to be seeing the increasing signs of the sun and the moon and the stars upon the earth from the heavenly Father Yahweh, and the increasing disgrace of nations will perplex the seas which run. And that's what we're seeing. This is the book of 2nd Ezra 15 and verse 15. For the sword of discretion draweth nigh. One people should stand up and fight against another with swords in their hands. That's what we're saying is going to come to full effect as well too. 2nd Ezra 15 verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men, which we're seeing right now. The Russia-Ukraine situation. Iran versus Israel. The pro-Iranian groups and the resistance of the Palestinians going against the Israel Defense Force. For there should be sedition among men, invading one another. They should not regard their kings or their princes. And of course, the acts should stand in power. Right, that's what we're seeing. And this is a news article from the Jerusalem Post as of March 7, 2025, New Reach. It says Russian says ministers discuss Iranian nuclear program with Tehran. As we've been seeing the rising cooperations of alliance between Iran and Russia as well too. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov discussed international efforts to resolve the situation around Iran's nuclear program on Thursday with Iranian Ambassador Kazema Jalili. If I pronounce his name right, the Russian foreign minister says on Friday. The Bloomberg reported Tuesday that Russia has agreed to assist U.S. President Donald Trump's in communication with Iran to various issues, including Tehran's nuclear program and its support for regional anti-U.S. proxies. The Kremlin said on Wednesday that the future talks between Russia and the United States will include discussions on Iran's nuclear program, and subject says has been touched upon in initial rounds of U.S.-Russia talks last month. Trump's last month restored his maximum pressure campaign on Iran, which includes efforts to drive its oil and export down to zero in order to stop Tehran from obtaining a nuclear program, which they're going to continue building up their nuclear program because they've been hit with economic sanctions. Same thing with Russia, North Korea, same thing. But you're still going to have that alliance between China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, even if they do have nuclear talks to have some type of peace talks between both sides. Because the scripture says, when they shall say peace and safety, so destruction come upon them, as a children born with child, which should not escape. Because you're still going to have Iran building up their nuclear capability, even though they deny the fact, but you're still going to see them building up their nuclear capability. And you're going to continue to see the alliance between Russia and Iran as well, too. Even if they do have talks with the Western countries and the United States, but it's still going to build up their nuclear capability. Matter of fact, we'll bring that up. This is the prophet Joel, chapter 3, verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty man. Let all the men at war draw near. Let them come up. Right, because you said you still gonna have increasing development of the nations are being increasingly over there in Western Asia. That's why you're seeing this is continuing to be prepared. This is being proclaimed among the Gentiles, which is the arms of nations. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty man. Let all the men of war draw near, let them come up, right as they slowly but surely continue to be gathered up over there in Western Asia throughout that whole region. That's the building up to the Third World War. Because it says in Isaiah 55 verse 11, the words of the heaven Father doesn't go in void and the counsel which please him. So we're definitely going to be seeing more and more building up to the Third World War. More and more this is being proclaimed among the Gentiles of the arms of nations to be in that warlike mindset. More military spending, more nuclear escalations, and more nuclear training as well too. As we see in the rising of nation against nation and the wars, rumors of wars increasing as well too. Joel chapter 3 and verse 10, beat your plowshares and the swords and the pointing hooks at the spears and let the weak say I'm strong. Just like that recent news article that I just brought out, there have been talks between both sides from the affiliates of Iran and the western countries of the United States. But that's still not going to stop Iran building up that nuclear capability. That's still not going to stop the alliance increasing between China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea against the western countries. What's been going on back and forth, on and off. That's why it makes perfect sense. Wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. So you're still going to have Iran building up their nuclear capability. You're still going to have North Korea and all these other nations that's allies with one another against the adversaries. They're going to continue to build up their nuclear capability now, so more than ever. This is the book of Revelations, because we're definitely living in the book of Revelations now, so more than ever. This is the book of Revelations 11, verse 14. The second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. Right, the third will come quickly. So the second will pass, the second will disgrace came to pass. Now the third will disgrace coming quickly, which is going to increase more and more, building up seditions, uprisings, speaking of the world, and wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, of the disgrace of nations will perplex seas, verse 1. That's only building up. The second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly, which is only going to continue to increase. So I just want to add a side note to that. Now let's go to news now. Some prophecy update. Some more prophecy updates. It says EU boosts defense stocks up to 860 billion in a rearmament plan. Yeah, that's that Joel, the third chapter, let the weak say I'm strong. As I mentioned again, you're still going to have these nations building up their nuclear capability. As we've been seeing the on and off tensions between the EU and the Western countries, EU versus NATO, and the United States as well too, back and forth. As I add a side note to that, even though they are allies, though, it says this is a news article from because I believe from one of the representations, where the representatives of EU made that announcement, made that statement yesterday about the ongoing threats of the rising tensions from the threats from Russia. Because they made that statement that they want to build up, more military spending and more military spending and more boosting of their military defense as well too, of the ongoing tensions that they have against Russia back and forth increasingly throughout the years, as recently as I had a side note to that. And this is a news article from voiceofamericanews.com from Europe, published by Henry Ridgewell, and it reads: the EU boosts its defense stocks with 860 billion rearmament plan. It says the European Defense Forum looks to sex profits from the EU investments in rearmament as the bloc reacts to the United States pivoted away from European security under President Trump. But as Henry Ridgewell reports, the 860 billion in rearms Europe plan faces oppositions from members from Hungary and Slovakia. Oh, I ain't trying to say that. Try to save that. It says nearly 100 people died from cholera in less than a month in Sudan's White Nile state. Right, second Edges 15 verse 5. So we're going to be seeing these modern day pests and plagues as well too. Just like it says in Matthew's the 24th chapter. It says Trump threatens Russia with new sanctions for pounding Ukraine. Right, that overnight airstrike, that heavy airstrike that Russia did overnight. As I read that news article, it says the WHO funding cuts threatens decades of progress in tuberculosis. It says Syria clashes kills dozens and the worst violence since the fall of Assad regime. Right, because you got the new interim president over there in Syria, which I spoke about previously. And this is a news article from It says this is a news article from the Washington Post. Yeah, from the WashingtonPost.com as 26 million ago. And it reads Syria clashes kills dozens in worst violence since the fall of Assad regime. Members of the Syrian alt minority said they fear widespread revenge killings as grassily videos circulating of field executions. Yep, this is that second. It's that book of Luke 21. This is the book of Luke 21, verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun, and the moon, and the stars upon the earth. Disgressive nations will perplex and seize rich one. Right, that's what we're seeing. The disgressive nations will perplex and seize rich one. Matthew 24, verse 7. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Right, so nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, which goes into ethnos. So we're going to be seeing these seditions increasing as well too. Bringing it out once again, which I brought out already. Second Edges 9 verse 3. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars, people of the world. Right, so increasing earthquakes and uproars, people of the world. And that's what we're seeing. Heavy clashes among the nations, nation against nations, kingdom against kingdom, seditions, and uprisings and uproars, people of the world. As it says again, as it says again, Syrian clashes kills dozens in the worst violence since the fall of the Assad regime. Right, so that's uproars of people of the world. That's what I asked. He said, you'll learn, Crumbs. Someday. It says Hamas threatens to kill hostages if Israeli attacks resumes. Right, those are signs of wars and rumors of wars. It says Assad loyalists killed at least 13 police officers in an ambush of Syrian forces in a coastal town. Right, that's uproars of people in the world and seditions among nations. Russia launches suicide missions across strategic Dnepr River as Paul and U.S. aid hampers defiance. It says U.S. trade wars with China and how they play out in Africa. What's behind Erdogan's calculated shift occurs in a potential consequences from the controversial news website. So we go to RT.com, some more prophecy updates. It says the EU fails to agree on Kavaz support. It says Ukraine's cut off from U.S. satellite imagery, media reports. It says U.S. threatens Russia with sanctions. And it reads, U.S. threatens Russia with more sanctions. Washington is ready to use leverage on Moscow to facilitate a peace deal in Ukraine, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said. What's that scripture says? First Thessalonians, for when they shall say peace and safety, such shall come upon them as a fair woman child should not escape. It says Zelensky shouldn't take the American people for granted. From Talisi Yerbar reports. And it says the EU approves massive defense spending hike. As part of the rearm Europe plan, the bloc will spend around $840 billion in building up its military capability, right? Or the ongoing tensions that they had towards Russia. Because we've been seeing rising tensions been heating up between Russia and NATO and the EU versus Russia as well, too. And that definitely goes into that Joel, the third chapter. It says, watch protesters attack Belgrade City Hall. Right, that's uproars of people in the world. That goes into that second edge of the 15th chapter. Second edge is 15 verse 15 through verse, I would say through verse 18. It says, protesters attacks Belgrade City Hall. Serbian opposing supporters reportedly attempt to disrupt a legislative session. Right, that's that St. Mark, the third chapter. If a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. Because you're going to have people are in uproar with these protesters, and that's what we're seeing in our world today. You know, like it says in Luke 21, verse 25. It says violent clashes broke out between the opposing protesters and law enforcement outside the city's Serbian capital Belgrade on Thursday, as demonstrators attempts to disrupt a session of the city's legislature. Local media has reported. Thursday's clash came 2 days after opposing MPs disrupt a session inside Serbia's National Assembly, setting off smoke grenades and tear gas to protest against the government. Some lawmakers rushed the speaker's chair, leading to a scuffle with the security guards. 2 females MP were injured and one reportedly suffered a stroke. Yeah, this is Luke. Matter of fact, second edges, even though I brought it out already. This is second edges, chapter 15, verse 15. It says, for the sword, the destruction draw off nigh, and one people should stand up and fight against another with swords in hands, right? As you've been seeing those scuffles, protesters going against their leaders of power. That's what we are seeing. Which was typical. So we're going to be seeing it increasing. Second Edges 15, verse 16, for there should be submission among men invading one another. They should not regard their kings or their princes in the course of action stand in power. That's what we're seeing from a political perspective of citizens clashing against their leaders of power due to the unrighteous decrees. So we're going to be seeing more protests and uprises and uproars of people in the world and more seditions. Second Edges chapter 9 verse 3. Therefore, when they shall be seeing earthquakes and uproars of people in the world. Right, so increasing earthquakes and uproars of people in the world. So let's go to ArabNews.com. More prophecy updates. It says the UN chopper hit in South Sudan, killing 1 crew member and some soldiers. It says the UN crew was trying to airlift soldiers following heavy clashes in Nazar. The attack is utterly abhorrent and may constitute a war crime under the international law, says Hamsom. It says French loans to help Morocco's buy 18 fast trains ahead of World Cup. It says Syrian forces seeks to snuffle out Nasser al-Wahab insurgents. It says Syrian authorities expand fight against Assad loyalists. It says Hamas urged Trumps to meet and respect free Palestinian prisoners. It says clashes clashes in Syria coastal region between government forces and Assad loyalists killed more than 70. Right, what y'all spoke about. That thing gonna show the video. I thought it was at first. Oh, go back to that. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna show the video. I thought they showed the video for a second. It says 9 Egyptians free after a 19-month in Sudanese captivity. It says Syria imposed curfew in Latakia and Tarkus after clashes. Right, that's uproars of people in the world. Luke 21, verse 25. That goes into that First Thessalonians 5 verse 3. For when they shall say peace and safety, such discretion come upon them as the travail of a child, they shall escape. What's more about them? And this is First Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 3. It says, for when they shall say peace and safety, such discretion come upon them as the travail of a child, and they shall not escape. And this is Luke 21 verse 25 once again, which I brought out numerous of times. Luke 21 verse 25. It says, and there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars upon the earth, disperse of nations will perplex and seize rich more. And this is a news article from ArabNews.com. As we've been seeing throughout the years, and as of recently, because you've been having clashes been heating up between the pro-Kurdistan groups, was the YPG and the PKK as well too, because they've been at war with each other ever since the 1980s. And I believe like last week or a week and a half ago, they made a proposed announcement to de-escalate the tension between both sides. As I had a sad note to that. And this is a news article from ArabNews.com, and it reads, it says, Turkey says 26 PKK militants were killed in a military operation despite peace efforts. Right, just like I brought up that First Thessalonians 5 verse 3. It says Kurdish security forces have killed 26 Kurdish militants in the past week. The Turkish Defense Ministry says Thursday, even as the militants imprisoned leaders call on a group to disband and his fighters declared a ceasefire. A defense ministry statement said the militants were killed in a military operations area, including north of Iraq and Syria. Our Kurdish armed forces will continue its operation and its search and scan activities in the region for the survival and security of our country. It says Turkish security forces have killed 26 Kurdish militants in the past week. The Turkish Defense Ministry says Thursday, even as the Defense Ministry says Thursday, even as the military's imprisonment leader calls on his group to disband and his fighters declare a ceasefire. A defense ministry's statement and the militants were killed in a military operations in the area, including north of Iraq and Syria. It did not provide any details of the circumstances of the clashes. Our Turkish armed forces will continue its operations and search and scan activities in the region for survival and security in our country, and the ministries said. He added, the military will continue to fight against the groups and will determine until not a single group remains. The banned Kurdish Workers' the Party, or the PKK, declared a ceasefire in a 40-year insurgence against the Turkish government on Saturday, responding to a call for disarms by the group's leader, Abdul Al-Kolan, if I pronounce his name right, on February 27th. Al-Kolan's call, the PKK declaration, were part of an effort to end the conflict that was initiated in October by President Aragon's ally, Devlet Bahçeli, who is a leader of the Turkish far-right nationalist party. So with that, hopefully this sit-down lesson was edifying of the prophecy updates as of March the 7th, 2025 on this Friday morning. So hopefully this was edifying like I mentioned before. And with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem Akarkadash. And the Heavenly Father, the true name is Yahweh, and His unbegotten Son, Bahashem, in the name of Mashiach Yahushua. Those are their true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Lashon Kodash Little Tongue. And I say Barakatham to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim Wa'akwa. Until next time, I would say Shalom.